Oh, sorry.
Hello and welcome to the Bookyard. I'm Sam.
And I'm Ariana Grande, as I was singing earlier.
Let's start things off. How did things go on your date with Gorgoroth?
Oh my goodness, everybody. Gorgoroth is dead.
No!
Not himself. No, he isn't dead. The romance is dead.
The romance ended.
Well, the romance wasn't there in the first place. That was kind of the issue. He's a really nice person, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so if there was just no chemistry, can you think of a book couple like that? Do you have like a book couple that you think just had absolutely no chemistry? Or do you just invent chemistry in your brain? Because I can't tell.
I think that sometimes characters really don't have chemistry. Oh, shoot. I had one in mind. Oh, Kai and Peyton in Powerless. They had zero chemistry to me.
Yeah, we really did not love their like relationship.
No.
To be fair, I mean, I haven't read any of the others so far because what just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I think the third one's coming out.
I mean, we may give it another chance, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
I didn't even know the second one was out.
I would probably agree.
Any other characters for you that you were just like, no?
Okay, I can't think of any that I want to mention right now.
That's okay, I'll forgive you. But yeah, really quickly, I have to say that I walked into Sam's room to start recording because, you know, we are super bougie and have a recording studio.
Yeah, it's my bedroom. We have a cute little desk that I refuse to let myself or my husband use for anything else because I just won't take down our recording equipment anytime.
Yeah, I get it. But I walk in and there is this block of wood.
It's part of a 2x4. We live in a basement that is currently under construction, so
yeah, and it's just as a block, and it says "Things with Gorgoroth ended" in pen on it, and I was like, "What is this?" So, what is this, Sam? Tell our viewers.
Here's the story. Viewers who are currently watching this podcast, for some reason,
I actually thought of that, and I was like, "She's gonna let it slide. She's gonna let it slide."
Your luck's out, Missy.
Bummer.
Okay, yeah. So there is this really weird 2x4 here in my room that has things with Gorgoroth ended on it because my dog a few days ago was running around with this piece of wood in his mouth, and I was like, Chorizo, please take that out of your mouth. And I grabbed it from him, so it has all these weird bite marks on it.
Yeah.
And I put it on my nightstand in my room. And in the middle of the night, the other night, I woke up and was like, I knew we were recording today. I woke up and was like, oh, we need to remember that things with Gorgoroth ended. So I reach over, grab a pen. Didn't have a piece of paper, but I did have a very cool 2x4. Wrote it on there and then brought it over to our recording studio. So now, thanks to me, you guys know that things with Gorgoroth ended.
Yeah, I'll give you the credit there.
Thanks. Anyway, this week we're going to jump into the original Hunger Games series.
Yes.
Yay.
Quick disclaimer. I know that this is like a more YA book, and we're not purposely being YA today because it's Lent right now. If anybody knows what Lent is.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Another story. So, I'm very into religions. I think they're very fun. I obviously am a spiritual person, and that's totally fun for me.
Yes.
But I really love learning about other religious traditions from my own. Mm-hmm. I think they're very important. I think they're fun. In fact, my current dream is to go walk the Camino de Santiago in Spain. So I'm going to go do that, hopefully in 2027.
Uh-huh. Wait, say that like a white person.
Camino de Santiago. Oh, it still wasn't quite there.
It wasn't quite there. It's okay. I was just imagining myself saying that.
Yeah. I just want to go do it. It's like several hundred kilometers that you have to walk, and it's so fun. But anyway, another Catholic tradition, obviously, that we are participating in this year, it's our second year, is Lent. So I'm not going to explain the full like religious significance of it, but basically it's the 40 days leading up to Easter Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like represents Jesus and his sacrifice and everything like that. So like members of the Catholic Church a lot of time will give up something during Lent, like smoking or drinking, or, you know, just make some kind of sacrifice so that they have this religious symbolism, and it kind of helps them to keep the savior in their like hearts, and it represents his sacrifice, so they want to sacrifice something of their own. So a few years ago, I had like a religious class about like several world religions.
Yeah.
And I really admired it. And obviously my religion believes in Jesus as well. I think that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I think that draws me closer to that is great.
Yeah.
I'm not a Catholic, but that's okay.
Yep.
So in the least appropriation way that I can, I like to also participate in that. I like to give something up during Lent. So the last 2 years we've actually done this together because I explained this to you and I was so excited about it and you were like, we're doing it.
Obviously.
Amazing.
I refuse to let Sam do anything by herself.
It's fine. So this year we are both actually giving up swearing because we have a problem when we get together where we're just like
beep, 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 beep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not like a fun time for, actually it is a great
time.
It's
a fun time.
It's a fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I generally don't like swear a ton in public, and especially like in my professional life.
No, yeah.
It's really not something I want to bring, and I find myself like slipping more into it sometimes. So Lent is a very good reminder for me where I try not to use any like really inappropriate language because I think it tempers my whole year after that. I kind of like, you know.
Yeah. I think we both noticed that like around this time last year, or wait, how do I say this? So we participated in Lent and then things got good and like whatever. We added swearing in there for some flavor because without it, sometimes talking's a little bland. Maybe that's a hot take, but that's where I'm at. And we noticed around this time again this year that we had gotten really bad. So it was like a good reset button, you know?
Yeah. So Lent has actually become one of my very favorite traditions around this time of year.
Oh, me too.
So I genuinely love it. So that's kind of where we're at. We're not specifically trying to be like very childish in this episode, but we probably, if we say like butthole or he was just a
what the heck
little crap.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here. We are just avoiding some harsher language for right now, but come back after Easter. You never know. Okay, so the reason we wanted to do the original Hunger Games in one episode is in preparation for Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yes.
Sunrise on the Reaping is already out. It's the 5th in the universe that's come out, but it comes chronologically after A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Is that right?
Ballad of... I think so.
Okay, so another thing about Kai and I is that we always abbreviate the first, like the prequel, to Songbird Snake.
Always. So I don't know what the book's actually called. We just call it Songbird Snake.
Songbird Snake.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's a ballad of songbirds and snakes.
It's Songbird Snake. It's fine. So Sunrise on the Reaping is already out and we've already read it. We're so excited to talk about it. But we wanted to jump in with an original Hunger Games episode just to kind of refresh everyone, even though I don't think anyone has ever forgotten anything about Hunger Games because it's amazing.
Yes, especially with the movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
We grew up on that.
Yeah, we did.
Woohoo. Okay. So we really wanted to do this episode so that next episode we can be all prepped to talk about Hey Mitch.
Yes. Okay, so to kind of give some context on how the Hunger Games is a part of everyone's lives, like I feel like it really popped up recently with everyone coming out and saying books aren't political. And I think me and Sam just kind of looked at each other and we were like, have you ever heard of the Hunger Games? Like,
have you ever read a book?
For real. Like, I just couldn't believe it because it's so politically impactful. And I think even her newer stuff that she's coming out with too, she's like, no, I'm not letting you guys forget. Like, I'm serious. This is an issue.
Well, and I also think we grew up in kind of like a decade or two where almost everything that was coming out that was YA was dystopian.
Yes. Yeah.
So like, yeah, we were obviously like, yeah, it's political, buddy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When did you read The Hunger Games?
Yeah, so I first heard about them in 4th grade, and I think I maybe read the first one in like 6th grade, but I never like read the rest of them. But I have a story I have to tell about The Hunger Games, actually.
Yes. When we were writing this episode, she says, I have a story, but I can't tell you. So on our little script here, it says secret story that Kai can't tell Sam. So I've been waiting for this for weeks.
Yay. Okay, here's the story. So to give a little bit of context, my parents are divorced and my dad remarried and he's divorced again now. But that family was a freaking nightmare. It was really rough. And my ex stepsister, her name I'm going to make Cindy. So Cindy, my stepsister at the time, she was in 5th grade and I was in 4th grade. And her birthday, I think, is in like March. And she was a cool girl. Like, she had all the cool friends and she danced and all the boys had a crush on her. Like, she was just that girl, you know? And she has over all of her cool friends that she dances with. And they all like lived around our neighborhood. And so I like knew them because my old house when my parents were married was like up the street. So I remember they wanted to play Hunger Games. And I sat there and I was like, what the frick is Hunger Games? Because they were like coming out in theaters as movies. But like I was still young enough that like, and my parents were always big, like unless it's like really good or like you're interested, we're not just gonna like casually expose you to like PG-13 movies. Like that was just kind of how my parents were. Like they weren't picky about it necessarily. Like if I was like, I want to see Hunger Games, I'm sure they would have let me see it, but they weren't like, oh, let's take our kids to this.
Oh, my parents were casual. Like, let's watch Kill Bill. Like, yeah.
And that time dynamic shifted a little bit as we got older, but so I didn't even know what Hunger Games was. So they were like trying to explain it to me and I'd never heard the word ally before. And they just kept being like, okay, like, do you want to be my ally? And I was like, what is an ally? Like, I just did not understand. And like Cindy wanted to like be Katniss and like something with like a bow and arrow. And I just remember in 4th grade being like so lost. Like I didn't understand what we were doing. I didn't know what we were playing. I didn't know what an ally was. And like that was my real like first exposure to Hunger Games.
I love that.
Just a little traumatic.
Just an outdoor role playing of the Hunger Games.
Yeah,
like
and it was
completely
like
casual experience.
Yeah, and it was like nighttime, and I remember that Cindy got so mad at me because I wasn't playing it right. So she made me go inside, and I didn't get to play with everybody anymore.
So sad.
That family, like I said, it was terrible.
She's
so
like, no, seriously, Kai, go back to your basement.
Yeah, no, that's literally it. So
oh, that's such a sad secret story. It's fine. It's fine. I just waited a long time for it, but I am like, I think that's a very fun way to be exposed to a very popular like thing.
Yeah. So what about you? Was yours less traumatic?
Yeah. I just read it like really casually. I think it was like
a normal person.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm a little bit older than you, so I read it when I was, I think, in 7th grade.
Oh, okay.
So I think they were still coming out at this point. Like it wasn't, because I think my cousin and I may have also gone to like a midnight release at Barnes and Noble for like the last one.
Yes.
My cousin Hayden and I went to a lot of midnight releases.
We love you, Hayden.
How's Pennsylvania? He moved to Pennsylvania. Anyway, I read it then. I thought they were really amazing. Like it genuinely kind of changed the way that I saw literature. I think it was so fun.
Yeah.
Because it definitely was so dystopian. And obviously as a 7th grader, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this reflects reality. I was just like, this is so crazy. This is amazing.
Well, and kind of what you were mentioning before, it really changed the game as far as YA and literature in general.
Yeah. And I think it kind of started this huge dystopian wave of YA. Mm-hmm. So like I remember after that, like we were talking about how the Maze Runner came out a year after the Hunger Games, and then Divergent came out about a year after the last Hunger Games of the original 3, right?
Right.
So it obviously wasn't the first dystopian YA novel that had ever come out in the world, but its popularity made like a huge impact on everyone.
Yes, yeah. I would completely agree.
Like I don't think romantasy has been as big as it is now. It kind of is like that, where there's just kind of like a popularity wave and it just like takes over literature for a while. And that's definitely how I felt Hunger Games affected like publishing.
That's so intriguing. I wonder what like the next big thing is going to be. Because I completely agree with that. I think romantasy is huge right now.
I'm going to say orc fiction.
What is orc fiction?
Because we just read The Hanging City.
Oh.
We'll talk about that later. It's fine. That's not actually my prediction, but we can come back to that.
I was like, what are we talking about? Oh my gosh, I'm there now. Okay, so kind of moving forward, let's talk about some of the things that we loved about the OG Hunger Games books.
Yes, and we do have buddy reads for all of these, so they're amazing. We didn't do great at the buddy reads.
No.
But we do have a few comments that we really liked on them.
Yes. So, first of all, Peeta as a person and an MMC, because this was confusing because I don't know if you guys remember, but in our Enemies to Lovers pipeline episode, we talked a lot about the tropes and like the hair color theory, like all of these different things. And we kept being like, Peeta is the outlier.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting. So he was just an awesome MMC.
He really kind of defied expectations because we don't typically get a ton of love interests who are like one stockier, blonde.
Yep. Kind from the beginning.
Very kind from the beginning and to everybody, not just like the FMC. Peeta is like as a person, genuinely incredible. So we loved him.
Yes. Yeah.
He kind of defies all the things that we generally think of in adult fiction and literature. Like what is an MMC?
Yeah.
But we loved every part of it.
Yes.
We also realized Katniss, like during our rereads, we definitely realized and were way more understanding of her during our rereads because as we've mentioned, like we both read The Hunger Games when we were really young.
Yes.
And it was really, really easy to hate on Katniss.
Totally.
She had major trust issues. She didn't want to accept that she was in love with Peeta. She had this big love triangle going on, and she was just a difficult personality.
Yes.
As we were going through and rereading it, I think both of us were like, this is a little girl. Like, this is a traumatized teenager who has never had any security in her life. And I think it gave me a way better appreciation for Katniss as an individual going back and reading it as an adult.
Yes. Yeah. It was really crazy just being like, oh, like she's not just being difficult for funsies. Like she has genuine trauma.
Yeah. I think there is a part in the first Hunger Games buddy reads that we were like, oh my gosh, she's just so quick to be like, I'm really hoping I don't get like called in the Hunger Games. And then her sister does it and she immediately snaps from like, okay, I'm sacrificing myself. I'm so upset to like, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
Who do I have to beat?
Yeah.
Who's my enemy? What do I do? I made a promise. I have to do this. It's one so older daughter, like so oldest daughter to just be like, okay, I'm going to go to an extremely practical like self and I'm going to shut out everyone else because that's the only way I know how to protect myself.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And my family.
And my family. Yeah. Especially because she was also the caretaker of her own mother.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, I totally get it. I'm way more sympathetic during this reread than I was before.
Absolutely.
I genuinely love her as an FMC at this point.
Yeah. So kind of going along with the characters, we also really love the mentors. And not just like the set mentors, but like everybody involved. Like Cinna, I think I would consider as a mentor for Katniss just in her everyday life. And Haymitch and Finnick and Effie and Plutarch, like all of them were just great.
Yes. We also really loved the sister figures in this series. We included Prim, but obviously we also included Rue.
Yes.
I think this is a very, like, having gone back and read, obviously, Sunrise on the Reaping, and we'll talk about this a little more, this little sister concept is kind of a theme in Suzanne Collins' works, and I really genuinely love it because it brings out different sides of strong characters.
Yes. Well, and you know that we go crazy for a sister dynamic in a book.
You know it. We always do.
So, loved that. Next thing, we also love a political enemy, a power-hungry dick, and is dick a swear word?
Nah, we're fine. It's the reality of the situation.
Valid. So we'd love a political enemy because
you know why. Anyway, we have a hard time with enemies, like with villains.
Yes.
We've talked about this a little bit. We have a hard time with who villains are, and we actually have an episode planned to
for
go
season
over
2.
Yay! to talk about villains
Mhm.
because we really have a hard time with villains whose motivations are just like not understandable.
Yes.
But I feel like as people who've grown up in the age that we've grown up in, we understand political enemies. We understand
Yes.
people who want power for power's sake.
Yeah.
Like we understand it. It's not something that's just like, oh yeah, I'm a villain because like
I just like power.
I just love killing.
Yeah, like I feel like a political figure is so easy to hate and understand and be like, I get it.
Well, yeah, and also the systems that allow them to become that way. I think that that's one of the biggest motivations of it because President Snow in this trilogy doesn't exist like in a vacuum. He's not just one villain like standing alone. He's part of a system that has specifically been invented to victimize these people.
Yes, well, and we see that in his prequel. We see that although he was kind of a crappy person to start with, the system set him up to mold into who he was. Like I said, I'm not the first person or the person ever to sit there and be like, I think that he had potential to be a great person. I think that's just kind of fundamentally who he was. He just didn't care about people. But I think that the way that the system was set up, it led him on that road.
Absolutely. And I think we loved that. I think we loved him as a villain, but we also loved that it was a system like wide villainy, basically.
Yeah.
We also loved that it kind of classified people depending on like whether they're rich or whether they're poor, the district, like all of those kinds of things. Obviously, you know, we love like a good, well, this is Sam.
This is Sam. This is
Sam
not
loves
Kai.
a good like separation into like different houses and schools. Obviously, this system is a little different because we have district systems. Sam just loves categories.
She does.
Give me like an Excel sheet.
Sam does go crazy for an Excel sheet as well.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then just to kind of wrap up the things we loved, also love triangle. But like, I feel like it was a pretty good love triangle, honestly, especially for a YA book.
I think so too. I think there were moments where you could relate to everybody, especially as a YA reader. As an adult, we have a different perspective, and we wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I just have to make one more small comment about that love triangle that I just had that came with my brain. I don't think I've ever seen a love triangle that has people who are so like polarized over who they like. Like, I feel like love triangles are like, you know, there's a love triangle and some people like very select few like the one who doesn't get picked, and then everybody else loves the like person who's picked in that love triangle.
Right.
But for this one, people will die on the hill of being like, I am Team Gale. Like, that's so crazy. What other love triangles do you know that that's like?
I don't know. People still love Jacob from Twilight.
Guilty.
That's you.
That's me. But like, I don't know. That just isn't seen very often where there's a love triangle and people still root for the one who wasn't chosen.
For sure. For sure. And people definitely were very big, like Team Gale.
Yes.
For a while.
Yeah. I was never a Team Gale girl.
Yeah, I like got it for a minute and I was just like, no.
He just kind of always gave me the ick. I don't really know why.
There is one comment in our buddy read at the very beginning that actually we were just reading through and I was like, eh. It was me. And I said, yes, the basis for healthy attraction. They look like cousins.
Siblings. You said they look like siblings.
Well, that's how they described it. They were like, yeah, Gail and I both have gray eyes and we both have that dark seam hair and we also like blah, 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 blah.
Everybody thinks we're related.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, he sounds so cute. Just like you. So yeah. But we did want to talk about the whole Gail and Peeta situation as part of like, as the main part basically of this episode, because as kids we were obviously Team Peeta. I understood the Gail thing a little bit more than Kai did. Like when people liked him, I was just like, sure, whatever. As adults, I think we were able to see a whole new side of both of these two MMCs, and then also poor Katniss, who was having to not only change the entire government system
at 18.
Yeah, I mean, even less. I think she was 16 when she was like in the original Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Like she was having to do like everything that adults should have been taken care of.
Yes.
After she had already basically raised her own mother and her sister.
Yeah.
And then got called into the Hunger Games, had to be completely traumatized by the death of everyone she liked.
Yeah. Yep.
Win and also save Peeta, and then have to decide between them at the same time. And these, like, Gail was not patient with her.
No. Well, and I think that Peeta was so just like hurt that once he realized most of it was for show, even though I think that he also was kind of at a arm's length, that he was kind of like,
no, yeah, he wasn't very patient with her either. Peeta wasn't patient with her. He kind of just cut it off and was like, and you know what? It came from a place of hurt. Gail's, I think, came from kind of like indignation.
A selfish place. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think we understood the two MMCs and Katniss in a very different light now that we're adults.
Yeah, so let's kind of talk about why we love Peeta. What a complex character. I actually have a comment to make about this after I talk about some reasons why I love Peeta. But I feel like he grew up, although he was in a higher like tax bracket, if you will, if that's the best way to describe it, than Katniss, he still grew up in a very abusive home and just kind of like he had to help provide for his family as well. But he was still a good person, and we see that when he throws her the bread when she is sitting there, and he obviously gets beat for that. But like, he was just a very caring person, and we see that as well in Catching Fire when for his like show and tell, I can't remember what they call it, but where he's showing the sponsors his skills, he paints Rue. Like, he was just a very sympathetic and caring person.
Yeah, and he was very observant too.
Yes.
Like, he noticed Katniss, and I honestly don't know what kind of like 13-year-old boy is like, oh my gosh, she must be hungry, or her family must be suffering. He was very observant. He also, one thing I really like about him is he goes into the worst possible situation and immediately tries to find a way to make it better for other people. Like, he was very selfless in that way. I think he was very strategic, which I loved, but we never really got to see a lot of it outside of Katniss's perspective because she was so suspicious of it. And that's okay, right? But Peeta, throughout the original trilogy, his actions are completely strategic, and most of the time they're to protect other people. Yeah. Like, the man, and at this point, the kid, decided to join up with some careers, knowing that they would not hurt him so that he could find a way to Katniss.
Yes. I mean,
amazing.
He just was so selfless.
Right. And you think about his actions at the interviews, right? Where she gets so upset because he tells people that he's like in love with her, right? Or like if it weren't for the baby in the second one, like, right? In Catching Fire. Yeah. And he's just completely taking her off guard, but he's ahead of so many people mentally. Yeah. He's so smart, but people underestimate him constantly. Yeah. I mean, I love that about him. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. The thing I wanted to touch on, I saw this video because, you know, Sunrise on the Reaping just came out. So Hunger Games stuff is coming right back up to the surface of book talk right now. And I saw this thing that said, there is no way, what did it say? It said, I don't believe that Peeta loved Katniss as much the second time as he did the first time. Because, you know, he loses all of his memories and gets brainwashed and like the whole thing. What do you think about that? Like, do you think that it was possible for him to love Katniss as much as he did the first time he fell in love with her?
I think in a way you kind of have to love her more to be able to overcome the kind of like programming that the Capitol puts people through. Yeah. Because again, we'll talk about this next episode, but we see a little bit more of that in Sunrise on the Reaping. Yeah. Like the way that the Capitol programs people and tortures people into believing certain things. But we also see how unsuccessful it ends up being. Yeah. And I think in Peeta's case, having to remember that kind of like traumatic torture and then also still wanting to be near Katniss, I think it shows how profound his love was, at least. And I think he kind of has to love her, if not that much more, to be able to put up with that kind of pain.
Well, and I obviously haven't thought too much about this, but I think that it doesn't feel like you can really compare the two. It feels like he like fell in love with her because he knew who she was from the time that she was young and like just kind of that. And he didn't really know her though. Like it was more of like a, not lust. I feel like lust is too light of a word for what he felt for her.
But he definitely admired her.
Yes. It was more of like an admirational love. And then later when he does it, it's more of like a profound love.
Yeah. And also I think like a relatable love. Like they have gone through the same things and they can understand each other on a very deep level.
Yeah, and I think that he definitely might sometimes wake up still, obviously, if this was real, and be really frustrated with her just because he was so brainwashed, you know? I can't even imagine.
Right. No, I definitely feel the same.
So, while talking about how amazing Peeta is, let's talk about what we feel about Gale.
Yeah, I really, as a character, I don't love Gale.
No, I hate him.
I love that he was there for Katniss. I love that they had this like ability to be each other's like safe place when they were younger, because as people who were in like an abusive childhood and everything, I think they needed that. I think they became each other's closest confidants. And honestly, I think that's why Katniss struggled so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go of him, because he really was just like this source of like safety in her life.
Yeah.
He basically was the only place that she could be completely at ease.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. I also, as we've gone back and reread it, I have some harsh feelings towards Gale, not because I think that he's a terrible person, but because I think that he kind of represents things that I don't love to see, especially when we like raise our young men.
Yeah.
Like as a society, I think that he definitely was shaped by his upbringing in a way that is hard to avoid for him. Like it's not his fault, a lot of it.
Yeah.
But,
sorry.
Yeah, no, but he definitely has some perspectives that are very like almost Machiavellian. Like he wants to like the ends justify the means in a lot of ways for him. Like he has so many actions that really are not considerate or even like okay. Whereas Peeta's the opposite of that. Peeta is always considering his actions regardless of consequences.
Yeah, and I think that it's hard to put all of my blame towards hating Gale on Gale, because I think that sometimes Katniss did influence that relationship and make it harder as well. I think that she just felt so much guilt, and I think that some of that guilt is Gale's fault. So I don't know, I have a very complex relationship with why I hate Gale so much, because I don't know that it's fair to put it all on him, but it's also hard because this was only from her perspective.
Yeah. Well, and I also know that you were very surprised by some of my comments in the buddy read about Gale.
Yeah.
Okay, so most of my thoughts about Gale in our buddy reads ended up being in Mockingjay, so in the third book, because I think that's kind of where the whole thing comes to a head, and Katniss is actually away from Peeta long enough to like have some interactions with Gale that aren't colored by that.
For sure.
So one of the comments that I made in Mockingjay, it was around like 130 pages in. Obviously, this is approximate because it's buddy read and I don't know where I was at.
Yeah.
But it says this whole "I knew you'd kiss me" thing that he pulls, because he does have this moment where like Gale gets
I can't remember, he's like injured or something and he's like, "Oh, Katniss, I'm so sad."
Yeah. Well, or it might have even been out in the woods or something like that, where he was just like, well, then I'm going to go and do this, like, and make a terrible decision or something. And she like kisses him and tells him like not to, right?
Yeah.
He goes, "I knew you'd kiss me." And I said, this whole "I knew you'd kiss me" thing is one of the first moments I consciously realized why I don't like Gale. He's intelligent and like very pragmatic. He's really like a military general, but he doesn't use any empathy or like humanity to determine when would be an appropriate time for his actions. Like it always feels very manipulative when it comes from Gale.
Yeah.
And he does things like that to get to his ultimate goal without any idea what the repercussions are for Katniss or for anyone.
Example, him saying that he would take care of his sister and then placing bombs to literally explode Prim so she's dead.
Yeah. And that's the same. Like that pragmatism that he has, where he doesn't consider the actual consequences of his actions, are what makes me dislike him.
Yeah, it kind of is. It goes off of I think it's called utilitarianism. It's created I think it's Kant, I think, and it's the idea of everything having like a value, and there's like it's super confusing on how you get that value, but it's like two things, and then out of what the value is, you choose that option. And that's how Gale feels. Like it's rather than like, I can save Prim or I can save these people and end the war. Or like he just doesn't think it through very well, and it's very like quantity over quality. It felt like it was just like, I'm gonna do his best for me right now without thinking about anything else that I promised.
Right. It definitely feels like it's all motivated by end goals for him, and it feels like it's very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was another comment in here that one I wrote, okay, I get all my comments are weird Gale ramblings at this point, but it really rubs me wrong that the only reason Gale even started to love Katniss is because he saw someone else pay attention to her, which is what he explains to her in Mockingjay, where he's like, oh yeah, I knew I liked you, I knew I loved you when like other people started paying attention.
Yeah.
It just feels like such a selfish reason to love someone.
For sure.
And it was never the way that we can compare it, like with Peeta, it was never about Peeta. Peeta's love for Katniss had nothing to do with Peeta. Peeta's love for Katniss was about Katniss.
Right.
Whereas Gale's love for Katniss always felt like it was a lot about Gale.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if anybody watched the Bachelor finale, but there's this moment where he's breaking up with the front runner, and he says to her, like, this isn't about me. And she's like, this is all about you. Like, that's what it's reminding me of. So fun little pop culture reference.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. So I think that pretty much covers our Gale Peeta moment. I think honestly, after reading all 5 of these books, I genuinely am more in love with all the secondary characters and everything.
Oh,
and
me too.
Like, I loved the love triangle, but it was genuinely about so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so excited to talk about Sunrise on the Reaping. And we originally had like wanted to see certain things from Sunrise on the Reaping. Do you remember what you were excited about?
Yes. I know that Suzal.
Suzallins.
Yes. I know that Suzanne Collins is a big political writer. She loves to add that little political spice in there, which we talked a little bit about earlier. So I was really excited to see what she was going to do, especially with the political climate we got going on right now. That was what I was really looking forward to. What about you?
Actually, I love that because I was really excited about that too. When she announced it, I was like, here we go, girl. And then I kept seeing things online that were like, Suzanne Collins is one of those people that doesn't write unless she has something to say.
Absolutely. And I saw so many things that were like, you know, Suzanne Collins saw all these edits about President Snow, and she said, no way, and made him even worse.
She reacted to the like thirst traps of like, the movie. She was like, no, you're not getting it. He's terrible.
Well, making Tom Blythe Snow was problem number 1. Who wouldn't fall in love with him?
No, I get it.
I get it. And I'm not into blondes, but his buzz cut, take me out.
I walked out of that movie and I was like, I know everything I'm thinking and feeling is wrong. And it's fine. But like, is okay, slippery slope. But okay.
Yeah, I get it.
I was really excited to see more about Haymitch because I genuinely love him as a character.
Yeah.
He was one of those people that like we knew related to Katniss because he was also like had a hard personality, but we knew that it was because of like a traumatic past.
Absolutely. Well, and we see a teensy bit of his story in Catching Fire, where in the books, Peeta and Katniss get a hold of some video clips of past Hunger Games. There we go.
Like the finales, the wrap-ups or whatever they do.
Yeah. And they watch a little bit of what happens at Haymitch's games, but that's all we really see of it. But it seemed pretty cool. So everybody was like, what?
Well, and we also see him have all these relationships with other victors, and you're just like, oh, what led to that?
Yes.
Like he always is very sympathetic towards Effie, even though she was like objectively not like super great to everybody else. And you were like, why?
Yep.
I was so excited to see it.
Yep.
So that's amazing.
Yes.
We only really ever see him in the original Hunger Games as this like man like riddled with grief who's
grumpy.
like genuinely so alcoholic that he's not functioning in society.
Yeah.
We were so excited to see how his experience like relates to the Hunger Games and also connects Songbird Snake to the original series.
Yeah.
Right? Like how it gets to where it's going.
Yes.
So
yeah, overall, love the OG Hunger Games. I feel like it shaped so many stories and books that we come to love now.
Absolutely. I genuinely love the series. If you haven't read it at this point, please go read it. It's so worth it.
So worth it, even if you know what happens.
Yeah, and Suzanne Collins genuinely finds a way to take things that we've seen in our own lives and paint them in a way that you're like, oh my gosh, this is really not okay. Or wow, how can that be taken to an extreme?
Right.
I love Suzanne Collins. I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
She also has other series if you want to go read her works.
Yes.
But that's it for now.
So obviously next week we're going to be talking about Sunrise on the Reaping. We're so excited to go over that.
Let's get back to Hey Mitch.
Yes. But if you liked today's episode, you are in luck. We post every Monday. Holla. We're getting to the end of our season here though, so we'll take a little couple months break and then we'll be back. So just so you're mentally preparing for that.
We have a few episodes left. I think 6, 5.
I don't remember.
We've got a few episodes left, so bear with us.
Yes, but we post every Monday, and if you're wanting to get your fix throughout the week, you can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Bookyard Pod.
Have a good week,
guys.